So here's what we're dealing with today. I guess I'll find out the exact model as we get deeper into it, but it's like a, I don't know, HG, T or K, it's one of them. I'm not real savvy on the front ends. Apparently the difference is in the grille. Once we lift the bonnet, I'll have a look at the year model on him. Well, we've got some glass. Oh yep, we need some glass because the back window's not in it. Guard. The back window's there, the rubber probably just failed. What if the door will open? Oh yeah, geez, opened easy. Oh yeah, we definitely need glass. So somebody stripped it because there's no carpet. It's probably the floors aren't that bad. Somebody's pulled the carpet out of it. I think this is a K. Pretty sure the K's got the sweeping speedo as opposed to the dials. Energy absorbing. Oh, no wonder I feel tired holding onto it. Oh, that's better. Seat's a little bit worse for wear. I wonder if that's the factory or not. It is kind of matching the blue of the doors, but I don't have a lot to show you in here. There's not much left of it. Oh, manual? Yeah, it's manual, so it'll be a 3-speed. But you get no gear selector. Something hokey going on there. Is she very bad for rust? Oh, is it bad for rust? Nope, because it's got pop rivets and body filler. There's no rust at all there. Seal's not too bad, but more body filler there though. So I'd say it's got a few old repairs sort of bogged up. Oh, that is the recommended procedure on early Holdens when your windscreen rubber leaks, is just literally fill it with silicone. That's awesome. Oh, cactus. I believe this originally came from out Lightning Ridgeway, so the previous owner told me. We can get to this side a little better. Well, that guard and that door aren't too bad really. I said that too soon. Look at that. Body filler, rust. More pop rivets. Excellent. Don't think that'd be the ignition key because there was no key in it, I don't think. No key in it. Some of these old Holdens, you only got to turn this around and they turn, so we'll see. Got a few little bits in the back, a guard and 2 discs. Heater box. So the fact there's 2 discs in the back, I'm going to bet money on it that's a drum brake front end. And I'm going to take a guess and say it's a 186. It's going to stay there. Oh, the hinge isn't bolted on. That's the problem, but yep, she's definitely a 186. She's been played with as well. That's why it's got a heater box in the back. Doesn't seem too bad. That's not rotted out anywhere. Oh, well, yeah, don't speak too soon, I guess, Michael. But and like I said, drums, it's no booster. They usually had a remote booster here, I think. Or did this one? I don't know. Somewhere between these models, they had some had a booster behind the master, and others had the remote VH44 type booster. I think the early ones. UHG, T or K guys will be able to tell me that. Where's the plate? Can't read it. Wouldn't it also have, thought it might have had one here somewhere too. I also thought they had the body number stamped somewhere, but maybe that was on the earlier guys as well. Oh no, there it is. Right underneath the plate, you dipshit. There, HK. I was looking on the guards because the earlier EHs, HRs all had on the guards, but nope. Right there, right in front of you. It's wriggling, it's not really wriggling that balancer, but it could be in gear too. We'll check that in a minute. For now, I just think we've just got to get it out of here. It's kind of wedged in there a bit, but what about for rust? Oh, there's a little bit there. Oh, yep. There's plenty. There. And there. And there. She's not great, but one step at a time. First step, let's get out of here. I really don't have any tools with me, and I have to get home, so let's get him. Oh, if I can get the bonnet down. Let's get the bonnet down, get him on the trailer and get him out of here. Might be a bit easier on the winch. I get rid of a bit of this junk. Should do it. See if we can winch him up. We're not dragging any tyres. They're not the same rims, so somebody's getting not that I'm shocked, but it's got a banjo. It has got a drive shaft, so it's all there. There is a motor, a 3-speed and a drive shaft. But there we go. This quarter panel is hiding behind that peppercorn tree, I guess. If I looked like that, I'd probably hide behind a peppercorn tree too. More pop rivets. Lots of rust. They're not the original wheels. I don't know what they're off, so I'm going to use that as a positive sign. Somebody's been in there mucking with that diff, so I wonder if we got brakes. That was very optimistic of me, wasn't it? we're all strapped on, but I've got to stop looking, because the more I look, the worse this thing gets. But one thing at a time. The crazy bit about these HG, T and K body shapes is it's about one of the only Holdens I've never owned one in any form, sedan, wagon or whichever. The ironic bit in that for me is my holy grail car would be a HG, T or K Monaro, and you know, I've never had any of those models, let alone a Monaro. If you're in the States, Monaro's a two-door, you know, the sports coupe type of thing. Crazy money now, so I'll just stick with my cheap shitbox Ute, I think. We're nearly home, so we'll get her off. You know how I said, I wonder if somebody's been in there and messed with the back brakes, you know, very optimistically. But the way it's rolling really easy. I would say the discs are in the back and the wheels are changed on the back here, because I guarantee I'll pull these wheels off and there won't be anything. There'll be drums and nothing else, because it is rolling easy. Anyway, I've got to say something positive about it. It's got really nice tail lights. They're quite good. Ignore that, but the lens is good. Oh, that one's cracked. Alright, so it's got one really nice tail light. That's as positive as I can get at this point. Get a go at the size of the cracks in these tyres. I'm not sure whether I'm excited by all of this. Oh geez, lucky that didn't fall off. I suppose the coil lead held it on there, but I was going to say I'm lucky. I don't know if I'm excited by it or nervous. Excited, maybe thinking, well, they've got it to turn over or whatever, or run, but nervous, did they give up on it? It's got oil, but it's really black, but that doesn't surprise me. Towards the end of these things' life, they were worth nothing, so no one bothered changing oil on a car that was worth more than, sorry, I'll say that again, on a car that was worth less than the oil that you were going to put in it. I did see the 186 badge, but yeah, definitely 186. It hasn't been swapped out. No carby, which worries me, but it doesn't look too corroded in there, so I wonder if somebody decided, you know, it's not worth anything, I'll steal that carburetor, maybe it's worth something. That mounts had it, that's broken. The cable's pretty good. No, the opposite of pretty good, it's buggered. Almost looks like they were taking it out. Exhaust undone. Well, I suppose the mount's broken itself, but radiator out. Were they going to remove it? Confidence is low, very low. And as far as now, I've got some time to actually walk around it. Yeah, it's probably the worst one I've ever picked up. But the best thing is, no matter what you do to it now, it's going to improve. I don't know how I can improve on pop riveted, body filled over rust repairs. I don't think I can improve on them, but we could try. Somebody give us a stuff about it, because there's glass in it, like quarter window. Oh, there's a quarter window, so yeah, somebody give a shit at some stage. That'd be right. I found the only old Holden that doesn't turn on just with the ignition. Surround. I was going to say, oh, I wonder if the keys are in the glove box there, but there's no glove box. Not under the visor, no. There's only misery and despair under that visor. That's good. If I wanted to say something positive, that's a good cactus, which makes me think the plenum's full of dirt. And the way it's rolling, I would say those discs are there for a reason. I'm going to go out on a limb and say when we pull those drums off, whether it be the rear or the front, there will be nothing inside them. It just rolls too freely. I wonder if the pedal moves. Does the pedal move at all? Oh, don't sit on the glass. Nope. Nope, neither pedal. They're both hydraulic. Got a hydraulic cylinder for the clutch. I kind of knew it wasn't going to work because, you know, stuff. Not even going to look in there for now. It's okay. We can do something with it. I just don't like looking too much further, if you know what I mean. I wonder if the gate drops. Oh, the best bit about the Ute so far, oh well, yeah, let's still call it the best bit. That, if you remember, that tail light was good. That's the best bit so far. Latch is excellent. I do like that embossed Holden across the tailgate. Not so fond of the repairs. Nothing a good coat of clear won't fix. And like I said, she's the old dead stock 6-cylinder banjo. It looks like it's been leaking. Oh, that's not too bad. And that floor's alright, so we get half a chance that that tank isn't rotted out. Because that's the real issue there. Yeah, that's all body filler too, which I won't touch that. She's a bit battered and bruised. Actually, that door's mint. There you go. Yep, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that door's good. There you go, I've got one good door. Hooray. A few holes there, but it'll be okay. Why is that different? Well, I guess the first thing is see if this thing will turn over. I'm not going to use a battery and just try and hit it. I don't have a key to hit it. I'll rig up something just on a button if I can get the motor to turn over first, but I'm not going to hit it with the starter. As I say, we might knock some plugs out, see if it'll roll over, although these guys don't have a crank bolt. Don't know why I'm not just looking through the grill. No, I can't see through the grill. It's got no radio. I thought I'd be able to see it easy, but it's got no crank bolt. 202s. So I think what I'll do is, do I knock the fan off? I wonder if I can put it in gear. Knock the plugs out, put it in gear and rock it. See if I can rock the motor over that way. Oh, I can definitely put it in gear. If I just rock the car backward and forward, yeah, there it goes. I don't know whether that's in third or first. See, reverses towards you and up, but I can't pull towards me because there's the gear lever. So I'm literally just going up into whatever gear or down into whatever gear. I guess if you're pulling to go, and I'm not pulling, so that'd have to be second and third. I'm going to take a guess. So we might try it in second. Well, they're not hard. No. No. That one was the only one that was even remotely tight, and even then it wasn't, so. They're as black as hell. So is that one. Somebody's been fiddling, that's why they're not tight. Like, all this doesn't happen by itself. What the hell is going on there? That's not even the same plug. Oh, and even blacker. That's the worst of them. What I was saying before, there's no bolt to get onto. Oh, I put it in gear, so I'm not going to turn it with the belt, am I? No, it's just slipping the belt that way, but if I put pressure on it, it's kind of, no, I'm not going to budge that. What I said, put it in gear. I'll put some WD down it, count to 10. I should leave it overnight, but I'm, you know, impatient and stuff. Put some WD down it, count to 10, put in gear, rock it back and forward. We'll do that. So now I assume that's in second. Ooh. We'll go backwards. Oh, it doesn't like that though. Just watch the fan. See, watch the fan, I can go backwards. I said I can go backwards. Oh, there. This is not the recommended procedure. This is actually pretty brutal on it. Why am I being brutal on it? Because I don't have a lot of hope for this one, to be honest. As we try again. Ooh, that's back where we started though, isn't it? So I actually haven't much at all. I'll tell you what, I guarantee you this drops on my head. I don't know whether going into third is better or worse. I should be going into a lower gear, shouldn't I? Not a higher gear. How can I get into first? Try and get a, oh, with the linkages. With the linkages, do that. Don't worry about the shifter. I'll pull it into whatever gear. See which linkage moves. See, there's two linkages, get out of the way. There. 1, 2. So, if I put into straight straight down or straight up. I think that's second or third, because first and reverse would be pulled towards you and I can't do it. So I'll pull it into one of those gears. Which one moved? Tell me which one moved. That one. So that's second, third, I reckon. Oh my god, look at the slop on that. Look at this. Look down there at the gearbox. Woo! But this one will be first and reverse. Now I can't move it. I can't move it. Oh! So I'm gonna have to be happy with that one. Damn it. None of that's bolted on. It's alright. Don't need to worry about that right now. The diff doesn't sound great. Probably because you're just torturing the shit out of the mic. So do I have to leave it overnight? I think the sump is sitting on the crossmember. Look, that mount's collapsed. I'm 90% sure. I'm actually not 90%, that's dented. So that's sitting on the crossmember. I wonder if the crank is hitting the bottom of the sump now, because that mount is shot. And that's being polite to it. It's beyond shot. So I'll jack the motor up, wedge it with a block of wood and torture it some more. You'd think when the sump got hit, it can only go as far as the crank, and if the crank, any part of the crank's there, it can only go as low as that. So I mean, what's the worst that could happen? It hits the pan a couple of times? Yes, that's the worst that could happen. Yeah, look at that mount now. It's had enough. It said, yeah, I think I'm done. So I'll wedge a piece of timber in there, and yes, I did just jack off the sump. It's clearly, I jacked off the sump. It's clearly damaged, so I don't really care much for that sump right now. That looks perfect. Just wedge that in there. That's not bolted on. That's okay. Don't need that. That's right, so that might clearance that sump. Let's have another go rolling it over. I might bring it right forward to about here and try and roll it back, because I got it to turn over going backwards, just not forward. So I wonder if I can just go the one direction. Righto, you watch the fan. I'm going to come forward as far as I can in neutral, start rolling it backwards and slam it into whatever gear and see if I can, you know, turn it over backwards violently. Ready? We'll go backwards. Right, so all that did was jump the motor really violently up and throw my chunk of wood out. Wow. Maybe I won't go backwards, maybe I've got to go forward, so let's turn this way. Don't poke the bear backwards, Michael. So, block of wood back in. I'll do the opposite, I'll come back here in neutral, push it forward and slam it in gear. See, I'm getting desperate now. It's been a fairly long day driving. It's almost beer time, so I'm going to dump some of this down, give it another rock, and then let it sit overnight. Because I can tell you, it wasn't moving. Like, that was rolling forward at a fair sort of a pace, pushing forward, and I just grabbed a gear and it jumped that high that that block fell out, so the motor's, you know, jumping off that mount with the inertia of locking up. That's not great. That's really not great. Poor old drivetrain. If only I could get it in a lower gear. Do I want a lower gear or do I want a higher gear? I'm going to try that linkage again. I think it'll be beneficial. So, neutral. Got it. I just didn't try hard enough before. Just hit it with a hammer. No, I didn't. That's in neutral. I swear that linkage moved. No, the whole column moved. Where are you going? Come on back. I'm going to go out on a limb, right, and say that that gear lever is broken off because of the force they were putting on it to try and get first and reversed. Even pulling that down, that should be, pulling that lever down should be the same as pulling the gear lever towards you and then up. So if I pull that down, I should be able to pull that into gear. I've got nothing, absolutely nothing. So I'm stuck with either third or second. Rocking, it's not working at all. Here's my train of thought is, see, I can only get second and third gear. We've established that. I can't get first gear, and I'm thinking stepping up in the ratio, although you'd think that's multiplying the ratio, should be twisting this harder. I'm wondering if I should just go back to a breaker bar. I'm not scientific enough to understand. If I got one revolution of the tyre, it should be spinning the motor very fast. So in actual fact, is that reducing the torque? That I'm going to say yes to all of that. I'm saying yes. Fan's coming off. I'll screw 2 bolts into the balancer because, like I said, it's got no crank bolt, but it has got threads. There's 3 little bolts. That's 4 fingers, but there's 3 little bolts. And I'm going to put 2 in there, get a breaker bar and try and take it, you know, 1 to 1. Just pull the damn thing and see if I can crank it that way. Is it still in gear? It's not now, and I do that now because if I forgot later and tried to crank it, I'll be like, nope, it's locked up, that's the end of it. Fan off, bolts in, breaker bar. I only say fan off because it's just in the way. Just painful. It's no point. My radiator. So I'm just going to knock it off. Leave the balance. Leave that thing pulley on there. Because if I get it to run, I want a water pump. Oh yes, we have to have that. We're getting brutal now. I don't like breaker bars up. Anyway, I shouldn't have been doing the rocking thing, but I'll explain that later. She's had a fairly checkered past, the old girl. The fan's got dents in her. No radiator, the front's hanging off her. But you know what? We'll do one thing at a time and it will be better. And then better again. Eventually it will be superb. Ish. They were tighter than the bloody spark plugs. There's still the chance that the crank is sitting on the bottom of that squashed oil pan too, but I don't think it would pose that much resistance. The sump metal is not that thick. I think it'd just push it out of the way pretty easy. It's probably a dumb thing to think, but I thought it. It's funny, you generally find these old 202s and that, and they'll turn over just by pushing a bit of pressure on the fan belt, just swinging off the fan. So I'd say this one, it's been missing that carburetor for quite some time. This might be the one that I give up on. Not yet. There's something in my little simple man brain that won't let me. Right, bolts in the bottom, away we go. I'll see if I can actually find some threads. So if you can see, just there, a lot of V8s have a big bolt that comes out here, and you just, you know, get a socket on that. But I'm going to go in here and here with 2 bolts, put a bar between them. I just got to clean those threads a little bit. So I know they might seem a little excessive, but they're the only ones I could find. They were really right. I knew they were the right thread. They're actually from a balancer puller kit, so it didn't surprise me that they fit. And what I'm going to do with the wire here is, when I put a breaker bar in here and try and lever off it, they're going to want to separate. They're going to want to piss off in different directions. So I'm just giving them a bit of support just to stay together. Stay together, boys. It was like our boys staying together. They probably will do absolutely nothing, but anyway, I tried. It's a thought that counts. Let's get a bar. And try and stay nice and close, like I said, so you're not flexing it. Oh, look at that. Oh, Jesus. Well, that just tore the thread clean out of that one. Don't have to go any further than that, Mike. Can't really get any much further. That one's going to go in further. I'll have to go on this bottom one now. I couldn't get it in this one before, that's why I chose the top one. Put my wire back on, because that made all the difference last time. And I think I'll try and go backwards first. That just bent that, look at that, bent like anything. Oh my God. That is dead set, just bending the crap out of them. But I've got to know. It's now fair to say they're never ever coming out ever. No, they're coming out, they're just bent as shit. That was pointless. Righto. Time to get aggressive. I'm going to run a battery over. I'm wondering if the crank is actually touching that pan, alright? So I'm going to run a battery over. I'm going to put some jumper cables on the starter and jump the starter. I'm essentially just going to turn the key on it. Not a good idea. Especially not a good idea dry, right? Because you probably just smash rings. But I don't hold grave hopes for this guy anyway, and I've got to know. So just battery cables. Those Corellas are crazy again, aren't they? They're not going to stop though, so I'll just keep going. So battery on the starter, or jumper cables from a battery on the starter, and I'm just going to bump it over and you'll be able to tell, you know, if it's moving. Let's do that. It's now probably had 45 minutes since I've put the first lot of WD, maybe an hour, whatever. Chuck these on, short the starter out, and I'll be able to see if it's slowly rolling over. If we can get it to turn over, I don't know. Let's just stop talking. Stop talking. Just get into it. So I've got my negative just to the earth, or just to the starter body or the ground of the block or something, and your positive goes to where your positive cable would normally go on your starter, which is this post, and this guy is where this little purple lead went, or wire went down here, and that's from your ignition. So that is your solenoid activation wire, and I'm going to bridge that to that power. So I'm essentially going to give that power and it'll jump the starter. Just like this. So if you put your screwdriver there and touch that top, so every time I hit the starter, I'll just put a mark there, watch that blade and see if it progresses down. I think it's moving. And I will say this is brutal as, so don't do this unless you really don't care. And trust me, I really don't care. I'm not very good at this, am I? Oh. Righto, we've got a little bit of smoke. I'll give it a break, give it a rest. I'll just give that a little bit of a rest because those cables were starting to smoke. They're obviously a lot of resistance because they're quite long. And that's probably a lot of load on them. Got to charge on the battery just to give it everything it can. This is not the way I'd like to do it. I hate doing it like that even more than a breaker bar. But that ain't working, rocking it isn't working. And I'm impatient. I could wait till tomorrow, but I'd probably still end up doing the same thing. Give it 5 minutes to charge, give it 5 minutes to cool down. Nope, give it right now. Let's hit it again. I didn't like that clunk, but it did turn. Is there a dent in the sump? Look at that. Number 6 was our problem. Look at that crap. Righto, so what I'm going to do with that is try and dilute it really heavily with, because that's gritty, yuck. I'll really dilute that with a bit more transmission fluid and just jam something to catch it. Just trying to dilute the evil. That's essentially it. What's coming out of there is like mud. It's sprayed out everywhere. So it's a combination of rust and all the crap that I just put in it. I wonder if it was sitting on a lean. Yeah, well, it was sitting sloping back and water down there. But it had a bonnet on it. Anyway, let's keep going. Don't overthink it. Maybe that little bit of extra voltage. Where did I put that screwdriver? There. Yeah, maybe that little bit of voltage from that charger made all the difference. I didn't like that banging though. I'm wondering if that is still that hitting the sump. What do you reckon of that? I actually can't hear any knocking now, so I don't think it's touching the crank. I reckon that knock before was probably breaking a ring in that back cylinder, but the gunk that's come out of there, if we run, I guarantee you we're running on 5, but let's keep going. That's not great. So that battery's dropping to 11.6. So I'll just give it a second. And my cables are hot. Last go. What is it? 13.4. So I'll give it one more go and just see how long I can wind it for. I wonder if we've got oil pressure. The senders are on that side, aren't they? Got a little oil pressure sender down this side here. I could crack that. Oh. Listen. Don't have to worry about oil pressure just yet. How about we worry about all those stuck valves? I'll show you what I mean. I stuck my finger in here just thinking, well, I wonder if there's any oil in the top of the rocker, but listen. That's me lifting the rocker and dropping it back down, so those valves are stuck open. So even if I get this back together, I've got a button, I know I do. I might even have some second-hand plugs, so I don't have to put that really weird one back in. Where's the weird one? There. With an excessively long electrode. But anyway, I know I should have some second-hand plugs out of a 202. Surely I've changed them, and I don't tend to throw them away for this very reason. That cover's got to come off. We're going to have to bang on some valves and get them free. But that's really all we're going to do. Rotor button, caps there, plugs in, bash on some valves. Oh, it's that easy. Let's just do that. So I know I've at least got one valve stuck open, I mean. Those points are as rusty as hell, so that'll be the next battle. That might be tomorrow's battle because I'm losing light pretty quickly. My summer Corellas are back, singing their beautiful songs. I do love this time of year though. So I've got two valves stuck down for sure. So this is a pretty good example of what everyone's meaning when they say a stuck valve. So that rocker, well that lifter is not on the cam lobe, so that should be sitting up like these guys, but look at the valve. It is literally stuck open. And that guy there as well. Where is it? That one. Although that one doesn't look like it's... Maybe that one's got a collapsed lifter at the minute. Although, no, the back end of that rocker seems high. I wonder if we've pulled a stud out. See, that's another thing that happens with these 202s and 186 motors. Is sometimes they'll pull a stud. Yeah, that one's pulled a stud. Look at that. It's clean there. Same with that one. Yeah, it's pulled a stud. Damn it. That's okay. I'll free the valves up. So that one's going to be loose too. You can literally see how clean that is. Oh, look how high that stud is compared to that one. It's actually lifted the stud out. And now that I look at it, you can see it there too. That stud is a lot higher. That's alright, we'll get the valves open. They're clearly stuck. That one's stuck closed then, probably. Let's bash on them. And try and get some lube underneath around the valve guides. Oh, well, he just let go. I don't know if you saw that or not, but he let go. There he is. Coming closer. So as I'm hitting the valve, sometimes when you hit it, it'll actually stick further open, so we'll see. Now you can see it marginally opening and shutting. That one sounds a bit different. Hear that one? Ooh, she's really not happy. Oh, did it just go? Nope. Pull in the big guns. Again, I don't like using metal hammers. Oh, there he goes. I don't like using metal hammers as I continue to pound the crap out of it after it's come free. See, those ones are not really doing stuff for We've got 3 persons of interest here. So that one I think has pulled the stud a little. So just tighten him down a fraction, and that was the other one. It's not great if they start pulling studs, that's for certain. Let's see if they open now. Now I could have prevented, hindsight, but I could have prevented pulling those studs. They have pulled out a fraction. If I'd knocked the cover off, bashed the valves, was that half of why it wouldn't turn over? Probably. Probably. Easy in hindsight. I've lubed him back up, sprayed all the valves, sprayed down the push rods. I think I'll let him sleep. It's beer time, I'm running out of light. But that's not bad, we got him picked up. He's turning over. Tomorrow, rotor button, start looking for spark and see where we can get. Alright, I'll see you in the morning. So first thing this morning, I've just got to get some power in this general vicinity here. I'll get a battery in it, I'll get a cable so I can take the jumper leads away, and then we've only got to run a wire from the battery solenoid, no, what's that, starter solenoid, not battery solenoid, into, I'll put a switch or something in the cab, and from the battery to the coil. Just to the positive side of the coil here. Then once we've got power to the coil, I guess we can get a rotor button in there, start to see if some of these leads want to fire off. So first thing, battery in, cable, wire, anyway, you get the drill. First thing is probably get this bonnet up a little higher so I can actually get in there. Right, that's perfect. I suppose I could just find some bolts and do those hinges up, but let's not worry about that. Battery in, cables off. I guess I can throw that mount away. That earth's still good, right? I'll have a look for one of them as well. found a negative. That is the perfect length now. Will it go on? Yep. I think that was off Tomo. I think that's when I replaced. Why I didn't throw it out, I don't know. Kind of glad now. Probably not. Righto, so positive cable. That's a good sign. I was expecting that to be rusted on, and the minute I tried to undo it, just to snap the terminal off inside of the that's got power going inside as well. So I wonder if I can unplug the coil, unplug the ignition and get power to the coil that way. Anyway, I'll clean that up first. You'd think all these old Holdens generally start from twisting this around. So I've got the only old Holden. You watch, I'll find a key hidden somewhere later after I've done all this. Anyway, I might take the ignition out and see what I can do there. Actually, I'll connect power up to it and just see if I've got anything else in the dash working, like lights or whichever. And if that is the case, I might just try and hotwire that rather than running wires everywhere, because there's the positive still connected there, and my solenoid for my starter is just there, so that's not too big a deal. Maybe I can just butcher that ignition. Is this one going to be long enough? That's an old Chevy starter, I think. I've got a couple of old Chevy motors laying around. Anyway, yes, it actually is. There you go. And the terminal fits right up. I'll knock that off. How long is this damn, whatever you call it, stud? Jesus. That can go on. Is that even going to fit? That is big. I'm going to have to grind that down, it's too big. That pad is too big, I can't get in, so I'm going to have to round it off. I'll quickly have a look for another one. Oh, heaps. Alright, so we'll use that one, and I've got a terminal. Check it fits on. I don't know what, that's obviously off a Ford, I would say, because that's the usually the inner guard solenoid that makes it very easy to steal them. So I'll go out on a limb and say that was off the F100. Which is back soon, I might add. About that long. How long is that stud? Same length as the one on the Chevy starter, I imagine. Way too long. Right, so we got that. So we need to piggyback some power off there to the coil, but I'm going to go into the cab to a switch, then to the coil, so I can switch the coil on and off. Yeah, I've decided I'm not going to bother with that ignition. I think I forgot to tell you that. I'm just going to run a wire in, on and off coil, and another wire in, starter solenoid. So I really need two wires from here, don't I? So this guy might do for my coil. How far in the cab does that go? Far enough. Yep, far enough. So I'll put a switch on that end and I'll split that wire. And so I found that little beauty. That looks fantastic. I don't know what I found that in, but that'll do. That can be my coil on and off. And I found that little guy. He's going to be my starter button. The way to test if they're any good though is get your multimeter and put it on the little horseshoe ohmsy thingy and test continuity by, can you see down there? I've got that too far away. How about over here? Can you see that? Right. And when you touch it together, you'll see it's got continuity. So if you put one on that end and one on that end, and if I switch it off, it's got nothing. See how it's the same as if I'm holding them like that. Absolutely zero. Then you touch them together and now you've got a reading. Come in close if you can't see that. How's that? Can you see that now? Right, so ohms, no reading because they're apart. As soon as you touch it together, it starts doing crazy shit. So it should be the same. This one's actually labelled, so I've just figured out on and off. But that's also probably a way, if you've got one like that and it's got nothing on it, is to figure out what's on and what's off. Put them in like that, and that's off, no reading. On, reading. So if we did the same with the other one, no reading. If I push the button in, it works. No reading, off, reading on. So that will actually start, that will actually work for my starter solenoid. So that's my coil power. I'm going to put that on there. Okay, so I won't connect that up just yet, but now I'm going to part this guy back to the firewall. I'll never ever find that again. So that's my switch for this guy, and it doesn't matter which way it goes because it's really only go on and off. So that's off now. Well, let's test him. I'll test him as I go so that when I get to the end I'm not looking for where I've gone wrong. Which I will be doing that. I'm looking for a spanner right at this minute. What did I do with that spanner? I swear someone creeps in when I'm not looking, grabs my tools and puts them in the most random spots, like back in the toolbox. So now I'm putting that on volts, right? Battery. Happy days, 12.9. So I'm going to leave that negative there. That's going to be the worst negative ever, but I'm going to leave it somehow there. Is it even going to work, Michael? There, wedge that in there. Right. Now my coil wire here. On. Wires of voltage so random. There you go, 12.9, it's steady at that. Off. It's still showing some, no, it's dropping. Okay, so the coil obviously powers up, and it's not like it switches off instantly, it just powers down. So that's working, and my switch is working, so it can go securely mounted in the cab like that. And so I'll place my coil power switch right there, and he's in the off position. Excellent, that'll work perfectly. Oh, get a go at what I just found. Under the seat. It's missing the linkage, but believe it or not, oh, it's missing a few bits, but believe it or not, I actually have rebuilt one of them, but there's 3 different bases, and that's the bit that was going to catch me out, I think. In the, where can I sit that? Sit on the ground. In the early Holdens, this is the only thing that really varies between a lot of the Strombergs. Jettings, of course, but the width of that base, the real early greys, I'll get this wrong, but I'll just say it was like 68 mil, then 71 mil, and then the later 202s was like 76 or something like that. I can measure them later, but I'll tell you, that'll be the in-between one. It'll be like the 70 something. That's clearly off it, which is perfect, because now I've got a base. And the rebuilt one I've got, if it happens to be the wider 202 guy, I could probably just pull him apart there at the bottom, that screw there and that screw there, and use the base as long as I can free up that butterfly. But that's handy because I didn't know I had that. Right, put that over here. That might have just been a game changer, finding that, because I was expecting a wave of misery and despair as I went to put this brand new rebuilt carby on. I'll grab it, just give me 1 second. So I've labelled this guy small base Stromberg, but I know that this is not the, it's not the really small guy. There's a gasket, that'll be an easy way to tell. Yeah, it's not the really small guy, because the really small ones are for grey motors. This was off, I think, the original HQ sedan that we did. And touch wood, it's even got the throttle linkage on it, which that one does not. So I might just measure that, but I reckon that's the same. Yeah, I'm not measuring it with a tape measure, I'm measuring it with a gasket. Yeah, excellent. And as I say, on the grey it'll be narrower again, and the late 202s wider, like a HJXZ 202. The earlier Qs would have been that size as well. That's the most common one. All right, let's move on. But what all of that means is we're going to be okay for fuel if we can just get spark through this distributor. So I'm just going to roll up an old sanding disc at an 80 grit, I think it is. Feed it into the top of that if I can. And just try and clean him up a bit. That's pretty clean. I'll just give them a bit of a brush as well. There's some debris and shit in there, so I might just give that a blowout as well. So I guess now a rotor button, and I know I have one of them because under here is a 202. The whole distributor wants to come, so that'll do. Ironically, I don't have a cap. Thank Christ this other one's got a cap. That negative's on, so that should be alright. So let's see if we've got anything at the distributor now before I go confusing things with throwing that disgusting looking cap on. Righto. So I should now have, with my amazing switch on, just using a test light, and I've got the negative just onto where the negative terminal comes across. I got power to my positive. I should have some coming out the other side. Come on, power out the other side. Okay, so with the points are actually closed. So with the points open, I've got the power out the other side, and on my points, if I open them, with them open, I've got power there, right? So that's all good. And then when they shut, that should, in theory, send the power to the rotor button and into my cap. So all that is okay at this point. I wasn't kidding, it's full of mud. And now that I've got enough flammable liquid in the engine bay, we're right to start messing with spark in this area. I'll give that 5 minutes in the sun to dry out. Good idea, Mike. And so while that's all drying in the sun and my tools are getting extremely hot in the sun, that's drying. Oh, wire. Positive side, to my starter push button. So I need to do pretty much the same again. Split a wire, run it into the cab to my push button, and then back out here into the cab. I'm obviously having premonitions of actually trying to drive this heap of crap with no brakes and no clutch. But yeah, I guess I am. Otherwise I'd just be doing it here, wouldn't I? And so I've got my little switch, but I won't put it inside the cab just yet. I'll plug him into there. Oop, I'll get it caught on everything. And that can just sit there for the minute. Another plug on there. So was anyone else disappointed this week to hear that no more roadkill? What the hell? If you don't know what roadkill is, you haven't lived. But we haven't had it here for quite a number of years in Australia. Motor Trend decided not to let us have it, but we found ways. But to hear that it's over, I tell you, man crush David Freiberger. He used to sit on the lounge after night shift. There was nothing better than watching those two wrench together some garbage, and I guarantee you, that's where this crap come from. That's where the want to work on this sort of crap come from, I reckon. I can't get that over. I'm too busy talking. I cannot get that over. Stop talking. No, but seriously, the world is a lesser place without roadkill. If anyone knows David Freiberger, share my junky videos. It doesn't get much more roadkill than this. Come on, I don't even know why I bothered insulating it. Only with the best here. So I had to whack a bit of shade up, and no, not because I'm frightened of working in the heat and a bit of sunshine. GoPro kept overheating, so welcome to Australian summer, GoPro. Anyway, whilst the camera was cooling down, I've neatened up. Come here, I'll show you. So I neatened up to perfection my shitty wiring. That is my push button. I've got obviously my coil wire. I've cleaned out and dried the cap, so the cap can now go on the distributor and we can start chucking some second-hand plugs in. Oh, remember I said I think I have some plugs? I do. I'd say I put some brand new plugs in, probably the HQ wagon, I would imagine. I think I put a new cap and leads and plugs all at the same time once I got it registered and on the road. But it was running with these plugs, so I know they should be okay. Well, okay enough to make this thing cough, splutter. I wonder if my starter will work now. It's going to have a bit of compression. Actually, I should have bumped that over to line the timing marks up first, although I could probably work out where cylinder 1 is from this, couldn't I? I don't know on a 202 if there's somewhere that you start. There's sometimes a little mark around the edge of the body of the distributor. Yeah, I think there is one there actually. Have a look at this. If you see on the end of the rotor button there's a little line, well look there. If I just clean that up a bit. I'm going to take a guess and say if that timing mark on the balance is anywhere near it, then that's probably the mark for 1, which would mean, where to put that cap? Oh, there. Which would mean there's a specific way that goes on. Like that, and that would make that number 1. Ironically, it would reach. So we'll just have a look. Is it anywhere near the timing mark? Oh, right there. Where's my sandpaper again? There's the timing mark. So I would say, yep, that's just past #1 cylinder. So I'm not going to touch that. I'm literally going to put that cap back on. As I said, it didn't look like it had been messed with because that nut, or that bolt, is covered in crud. So I'm going to go for one from there. From here, that's going to be one, and we'll just work around in our firing order. She's a mixed bag, isn't it? Anyway, I'm going to just see if it's got spark at one of these when I wind it. Look at that. I don't know if you can see that. Come in closer. The next thing, I guess, is clean up around this intake manifold and get that carburetor on. I'll see if I can get those nuts off first. Oh, easy. And no, I'm not worried about crap going down the intake manifold. If you remember what came out of that cylinder, that's the least of our concerns. In a funny way, this just doesn't feel right, but I'm putting a brand new carburetor on it, as you do. Oh, and that linkage was all there. It was, when I got it, it was hanging down. I'm thinking I'm missing shit. No, it's there. It's ready to go. Do I need to put that on now? No, it'll fit. I mean, it'll go together. How good is that? That still works. So all I need now is a fuel line going into this side, which I'm sure I have, a bit of hose, a bottle on the windscreen or over there somewhere, and let's completely ignore the fact that it has no cooling system whatsoever. Let's do that. So where do I put the fuel, do you reckon? A bottle gravity fed off the screen, at least that way I can see if I'm going to run out, hey? So I'll put him up that way. So all I'm going to do is literally put a bottle inverted up on the windscreen there, and I got a bit of fuel line, jam it on there and drilled a hole in the lid. Took me 4 goes to get it, but I've got it, I reckon, tight enough, I think. Doesn't matter if it doesn't seal completely. It's a hot day, the fuel will dry before it catches fire, and if it catches fire, the only real good part I've lost is that carburetor. I hope it doesn't catch fire though. I'm just saying, if it did, it's not the end of the world. Oh, squirter's working. I'll show you what I mean. I just checked then, if you look down here, if I can put my bloody fuel somewhere. Where can I put that? Just there. Just for the minute. So I just tipped that upside down to fill the fuel bowl, and if you look down there in this side, when I pump the throttle, you'll see the fuel squirting everywhere. So we've now got fuel. So far it's going well. All I'm going to do now is flick my coil on and hit it. I'm apprehensive. Very, very apprehensive. I might just leave it at that for the minute, so that bowl is full. You ready? Oh. Just not used to having to switch a coil on. That indicates a stuck valve again. Gonna flatten the clutch in a second. Let's just check if it's still got spark. Well, that cough indicated I do have spark. There was a lot of crack in those cylinders. How about we just give them a little bit extra? That didn't sound great. I'm getting apprehensive about having my fuel so close to that open manifold that just had sparks and shit coming out of it. So I might put my fuel up here closer to my face. I think. Yeah, good one. Yes, I have raw fuel coming out the exhaust. I'm going to do something with that exhaust. That's starting to freak me out. So what's happening is you see this exhaust, it's just tied on there with wire. I think I'm going to chuck a couple of bolts in it just, oh, mind you, look down there, there's actually a hole where I can put my finger in the exhaust pipe anyway, but that's got a little bit of heat in it, so it's been popping and farting, and I've been watching sparks and a bit of flame come out the bottom there. Just worried if I get a nice pool of, you know, oil and fuel down there, probably make no difference, but I think I'm gonna try and at least join that back up and put one bolt in it. Righto, so that was 25 minutes of my life I'll never get back. I couldn't find a bolt to go in that. It just wouldn't line up. I'd say a stud was originally in that and it's pulled out. I couldn't line it up to save myself. So I just ran a coach screw, like a timber coach screw in it, and the jagged edge on that cast iron, it's actually held, it's in there, but a little bit pointless in a funny way, because now all it's done is move the open area from here to there, 75 mils further back, because it's got a massive hole. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a massive hole in the exhaust, so it's moved it back. Oh, it's a bit more than 75 mil. And so I just grabbed a bucket and extinguisher, because if this goes bad, it's going to go bad pretty quick. Alright, so we'll give it one more crack, and all the fuel with our fire, you know, shit there behind me. There's that. So we've still got spark, obviously. Come on, girl. that's stuck valves. It's backfiring out the exhaust and it's popping out the stuck valves, which the upside is I didn't screw that back down. They're all moving though. I wonder if I've just drowned the plugs now. Anyway, that one will be covered in mud. Let's turn the coil off. Remember to turn it back on. I'm going to ride it there. Coil. So I'm turning it off for now. And so I'm just going to check with something soft like a zip tie. The piston's there. And it is, it's right there. So the timing mark is relatively right. Okay, I'll just use a small wire wheel, clean the spark plug area, like that. Make sure they're earthing. Clean the plugs, check every one to make sure I've got spark at every one. And if we've got spark, add more fuel, and if we've got nothing then, so I'd say we've just got zero compression. But I can test that too, really, can't I? Because I've got my little button. Where is it? Over there. That has got absolutely none. Not a bit of compression, not a skerrick. Okay, plugs out, clean the plug, spots, and just check compression with my thumb. But I'd say even if we get spark, that hasn't got anything. There's not 1 ounce. So what I'm going to do is clean the plugs. Yep, that's right, with a wire wheel. Don't really care. Cylinder 1 can go back in. Actually, slow down, Mike. That can go back on. That can go on. Check the spark. Coil on. Oh, get that back. Just going to slide this back and just make sure this is tight enough on the spark plug itself. I said I'm just going to slide it back, you son of a... God, that's barely touching it. So I'll do that on all of them. Just crimp up the end a bit. Like that. Did I say a bit? I said crimp it up way too much. And cylinder 1 can go back together, knowing full well it's got no... Oh, what if it's got a bent valve? Hold on. I'll just cycle that through. What are the odds of that? I just went to push that and I grabbed that like that, pushed down, and all I got was screwdriver in the thumb. Right, so they're both off cam, right? So those valves should be roughly the same height, so I'll get something straight. So what I'm saying here is with all of those valves up, they should be, you see the straight edge across them like that, and they should be flush. Look at the gap. from that valve there. I think we've got a bent intake valve. But that's only one. That'd explain no compression in that cylinder. Doesn't mean the others can't pick up the slack though. Can you boys please? So while that battery's charging up, I've actually got 2 batteries on there now and I'm just charging it. See, none of these plugs seem overly drenched in fuel, and I've put a ton down it. So I'm starting to wonder, am I not getting fuel to the cylinder? You know what I mean? It's not winding fast enough to drag enough air and fuel into the cylinder, so I'm just putting a little bit of fuel on the plug, and if it pops and bangs and farts, I'll know that's what it is. Not getting fuel to it. So they're not really drenched. I've put so much fuel down that. 13.7. I'm reluctant to leave my charger running though, in case I blow it up. And I got my coil here now. I think I've given up on the idea of being in the cab and being able to fire it. I've just got to get the damn thing to fire. So that's on. Yep, that's on. That will put a lot of fuel in the bottom of the manifold. So if I hold it wide open throttle, hopefully I'll get enough air getting dragged in to get that vapour in. There's one doing something there, but I'm trying anything at this point. I'll give it a rest because that starter's cooking. I'll put the charger back on, but it's giving little signs that it wants to, only little ones, but it's giving little ones, alright? It's blowing smoke from every part of it. It's coming out around the push rods. There's something going on in there, but not enough yet. This is going to sound random, but I'm going to follow those points again. I know I've got spark, but it was good at cylinder 1, but the other ones didn't seem as good, so I'm going to clutch at straws and give those points a bit more love. I've got spark everywhere, but I wonder if it's not long enough dwell time and shit like that. All the shit I don't know much about. So I've gone back and checked spark again. Still there, points are still fine. I refilled the points. I ran out of fuel in this little squirty, and the only thing that I've changed is I like putting a bit of 2-stroke in them, right? A little bit of oil when they haven't ran for a long time, but I'll put that much fuel down the throat now. I don't care. I really don't care. So I'll put fresh fuel in that. And this is the second time I've done it. I actually did it once without the camera running. And why I'm showing you is I think the little bit of oil in that 2-stroke, this is so tired, it just couldn't fire it. Listen to this, it's getting better. I'm not saying it's going to run, I'm saying it's getting better. getting there. Slowly, really, really slowly. But it's getting there. I'll let that coil cool down for a bit. Because it's got constant 12 volts when it's actually probably more like 14 volts when it's running off the alternator of the truck. It's heating up pretty bad. But you can tell it's getting closer and closer to wanting to fire. Oh geez, that's hot. So's the starter. And it's getting slower and slower. I've still got the same amount of volts into it, but it's getting slower and slower. Last go. Come on, come on. Righto, everything's hot and angry. I'll just disconnect my truck, charge the battery overnight. I might even give it a rest, let it all cool down. That coil is cooking, the starter motor's cooking. I've got the same voltage in, it's getting slower and slower, so I'm going to burn up that starter if I keep going. So just pause for 1 second and get all this disconnected. Geez, that's hot too. Yeah, she's working. Well, it's beer time 5 minutes early today because that starter is cooking and that coil is absolutely cooking to the point where I might have even inherited a couple of blisters out of that one. It's really, really angry. I guess because I'm running from the other truck and its alternator, I'm probably running 13.5 volts charging sort of voltage through the coil, where normally they're only, you know, 12 or whichever, or whatever cranking voltage is, maybe a little bit lower than 12, and then it reverts over to about 9, I think, through a resistor wire or something with these old things, so it doesn't heat the coil up. Well, I'm just belting 13 and a bit into it, so it's not supremely happy. And that is one thing. I know I'd probably get another coil, but I don't have another starter motor, so I'm just going to pull up on it for 2 minutes. Well, I'm going to pull up on it for the day, big charger on it, get the battery fresh again, run it off the truck with the cool starter, because it sounded like there was improvement. It sounded like it was starting to want to chug away and starting to want to fire, but it's winding slower and slower, although I'm putting the same volts through it, so the starter's literally binding up maybe internally. It's that hot. Anyhow, confession time though, and I did allude to it before, but this motor is not staying in this ute. I bought this ute from a guy who had a big collection of this model, HG, T and K, and so I've already nicknamed this one because this was left over from that collection. He said it was never going to get to it. The purpose of this ute when I bought it was cheap V8 conversion, as dirty and cheap as I can do it. I've got old V8s in the shed, old transmissions, and they're all left over from other projects I've bought off somebody's shed floor that they never used or something like that. So all leftover stuff. So this is the leftovers HK, and it does look leftovers too. Anyway, I'm not giving up on the 6 yet. My poor little stupid man brain, every time I lifted the bonnet thinking I'll just pull it at the start of the episode, start putting a V8 in it, it just wouldn't let me do it. I've got to figure out if it's going to run. Even if it runs bad, I'm going to make it run. It wants to run, but like I said, I've just got to press pause on that starter motor. I'm going to burn it down. I don't have another. I won't ruin everything by telling you exactly what's going in it. That I guess you'll have to stick around and find out. But I will tell you, it's going to be done shoestring budget, second-hand parts. Just chuck it together, make it run. It doesn't deserve anything better yet. It's rusty, it's shitty, but we're going to do one thing at a time. What do they say? Leftovers is always better the next day. Well, every day I work on this, leftovers is going to be better the next day. Anyway, she's pretty angry at the minute, so I'll just let that starter and coil calm down, and we'll give it a fresh wind in the morning. I think I'm on the right track with that fuel too. This thing is that sad. I thought I heard a difference just trying to fire it off straight fuel, not two-stroke. Now there's only a tiny bit of oil in two-stroke. It's enough to change the colour. Is it enough to just knock that, you know, the edge off it that it won't fire? Maybe, I don't know. Clutching at straws, I know. But have a look at it. You see the rust that came out of that back cylinder. It'll never be a runner. I don't think that. I don't think it's going to be good enough that you could chuck it in something else and drive it. I think it might last 100 Ks and then be blowing smoke because the chunks of rust and dirt and crap that came out of that back cylinder, the amount of blow-by that came out the bottoms of the valves, so the guides are clearly flogged out. Anyway, I might give it away as a rebuilder, but I've got to know if it'll run. I'll see you in the morning. So, first thing this morning, I want to fix the hinges. I'm sick of this, but I'm just putting plugs back in because last night got the better of me. I know we had spark, but my little brain said pull the plugs and soak them in some fuel and just get any bit of carbon and that off, just to improve the spark, because if it has got low compression, which I can tell you it does, it's going to need every bit of help it can to start. So knock these plugs in, fix my bonnet because it's bugging me, and with the starter cool, we'll have another crank. And the coil. The coil is cool, obviously. Yeah, I know, not the biggest issue. Ooh, maybe I won't tighten this. Maybe I won't. Ooh. Ooh. No, I might just leave that alone. I now see why they're loose. I'm going to go out on a limb and say they're either not the right bolts or they're cross-threaded to hell. And it's not cross-threaded. So I'd say it's just shitty. It might just be full of rust. This will be one of those 5-minute jobs that takes 3 hours. Oh, nailed it. Not even close. Oh my god. How can I have an inch gap at the front both sides? Oh, that's how the guard's not bolted on. Yep, that's how. So I'll line it up to this guard because that one's not bolted on. Just going to undo the bonnet and slip the bonnet that way to bring it forward because it missed that catch by like that much. Okay, like I said, tackling the big issues, but I've fought with that for about 15 minutes and went, there's something not right here, and I'm right. That hinge needs to go way, way down, but it can't. It's hitting on the inner guard. And then if you look at this one, it's nowhere near the inner guard. That is literally the wrong hinge. It's off a different model. You can see it's got to come down a mile, but it's touching there. So I can either 1, cut the hinge, which is probably what I'll do, or 2, ignore it and maybe find another hinge. So for now, I'll ignore it. But at least it's staying up now, so that's my little head thing fixed. I'll get jump leads, the other battery, and let's get cranking on this. Bloody hell, no wonder I can't line the bonnet up. Nothing's bolted on. This guard's not bolted on, the front's not bolted on. It's mint, trust me. Right, coil. I'll get some fuel. I changed that from 2-stroke again. Probably won't make any difference, but anyway, I did it. I'm clutching at straws here. That should have filled the bowl. Yep, we got fuel. Where's my little container? Way too much fuel. Everything's cool. Coil is on. Absolutely nothing. Let's just check I've still got... Let's check nothing's changed from yesterday. I did just hear it sort of half slow up and it's winding, so I can't see why it wouldn't have. Yeah, so we've still got power there. I should have known that because I did hear it go whoop, whoop. Just on the off chance that it didn't recover from yesterday's whipping. It was hot, like I'm talking burn your skin hot. Maybe I missed it in. Oh, I think we've just shit a starter. Why is it running so slow? It's not right there. Like, just tighten everything up. Something doesn't feel right. I've got plenty of voltage and really slow cranking. Probably doesn't help that I used the shittiest cables I could find in my shed. But I'd say I'm just killing that starter. Just checking what voltage is actually getting to the starter. Sounds better already. Did that just speed up or was that me? No, it must have been me. There is no fuel on those plugs. They're not even wet. The amount of fuel I just dumped down that, they are not even wet. How can that be? Well, no compression, no suck, no intake suck. Okay, here's a theory. I'm literally going to have to check if the intake manifold is blocked, or are we just got it rings that are that bad, they're just not doing anything. You'd think though, when I'm testing compression with my thumb, my very sophisticated thumb tester, it was enough to pop your thumb off the hole. That's ring sealing to a certain degree. Maybe bring my truck down and jump it off that again, because that was where I had the most success yesterday. It started to want to gallop and carry on. The faster I can wind it, the better. That one's wet. I stopped looking, I was too busy talking. That is the only plug that's wet. It's number 6. Oh, that's probably wet from all the rust and shit in there. Number 1 cylinder's back. 6 is sad, right? So we've now established we've got to have some ring seal. So I'm just going to add my own little bit of fuel. Put my plugs back in, and if it pops and farts and bucks and misses, then we'll know it's just not getting fuel for whatever reason. I might have to pull that intake off and find out that there's mud wasps' nests or something blocking it. Otherwise I don't know why we're not getting fuel. Why those plugs weren't wet, because I drowned that down that carburetor, like drowned it. If it was flooded, the plugs would be all nothing but fuel. So it won't be long and my shade will be going up again today, and not from the camera cutting out today. It'll be because that is that hot I can barely hang on to it. It's been sitting in the sun, so where do I put it? Back in the sun. Stupid. So if it coughs and splutters and bangs and does stuff, I'll know we're just not getting fuel in, which strikes me as odd, but all it can be. And we have absolutely nothing. Not a thing. Absolutely nothing. Are our points now being pricks again? Is it that? Yesterday it wanted to pop and fart. Today it doesn't. The upside is number one's got compression now, so I would say that valve wasn't bent. It did just have carbon or something holding it off that seat. And it's got spark. So if that's got fuel on the end of that plug, like that, I was going to say, why isn't it igniting? But it did. Do you reckon that could be it? Do you reckon this could be it? Maybe inside of that distributor's cactus. But enough's enough. I'm giving up on that distributor. I'm not giving up on the motor. It's improving. Number one's got compression. That distributor I've had enough of. I know I've got that one in that other 202, so I'm going to pull that dizzy. I don't even know if you could hear me then. But I'm giving up on that dizzy. I'm pulling that distributor. Probably should have done that yesterday afternoon, but anyway, it was improving and now it's not. Now it's exactly the same, but I've got more compression. I'm throwing fuel at it like it's going crazy and I'm still getting nowhere. So as I said, I've opened the points, I've closed the points, they're fine. I don't mean I've opened them and closed them, I mean I've opened the gap, I've narrowed the gap. Nothing's working, so I'll just go and get this other distributor first. I guess we'll see. I know that motor ran though. That feels no different. That guard feels different, hence why the shades come out again. Although that one springs back. Thing is, I know this one ran. So even though I'm clutching at straws, am I just ruling out another possibility? Yes, I am. Because everything tells me that's working. Hang on, I better wind it at top dead first, better not. I don't remember taking it off top dead center. I must have cranked it once more, did I? That's 180 out there. It's convenient that I can turn it over by hand. Right there. See that? It's not quite lining up with that body. I'm going to check that cylinder again. Just in case that balancer has slipped, which is a pretty common thing with these old motors. So hopefully now I'll be able to see the piston move up and down as I wriggle it back and forward. That's going down. Up, down. Look, that's close enough for me. So it ain't that. So if nothing else, I'm going to take this dizzy out, rule it out because I know that one works, and move on to something else. They're not identical. Should have checked that before I took that cap off, huh? They're not the same. So is the rotor button the same, but it's working. I've got spark everywhere. The cap is definitely not the same though. And that does feel similar. I'm going to give this a real good clean up inside and out, see if I can free it up and just stab it back in and then just set the timing up. When I'm stabbing this back in, you really want the groove for the rotor button to match that line, and it's not very hard to do as long as you've got it on top dead center. You'll feel that gear there, you'll feel it engage the cam. So I've got my line there and me where my rotor button will be out here, and if you go in, you'll feel it want to turn in with the gear like that. I might actually go back one tooth. So come out, disengage the gear and then go back in one tooth. Right about there. So I put my rotor button right there. Line those two marks up. So that's top dead center. So now we've ruled out points gap. Balancer hasn't slipped. We've got compression. Can't get the distributor bolt back in. See, that's springing back now. Wasn't doing that before. Maybe inside of that distributor's cactus. I've cleaned all the inside of it out. That would be enough. That would be enough to hold the timing out that far. Oh look, it's stuck. There it is again. If that's what it was, I was going to say I'm going to have the shits, but no, if that's what it was, then that's what it was, I guess. Not much I can do about that. Figured it out now. I cleaned it all out, but I'm just putting a bit of lube back in there because it still wants to stick. Alright, so that should be set up on top dead center. It probably does want a little bit of advance, but let's see if we get any improvement whatsoever. What I'm going to do is I've just pulled the cap off and I'm going to mark where I've got the distributor now, like that. And then I'm going to back that off and actually turn the distributor whilst I've got the engine turning over. And that'll take all the variables out of. Go on. There we go. It'll take the timing variables out, and what I mean by that is if something had slipped, if something's not lined up right, and I'm hitting the button and turning it advanced and retarded, even if everything's misaligned, at some stage when I'm turning the distributor, if the spark lines up where the compression stroke is, it may actually cough and fart and bang and do something better than what we've got right now. If it does nothing, I think we're not far away from pronouncing this one past its due, past its, what do you call it, used by date. That's it. Right, so coil on. Okay, so that's where it sounded, you know, like it was galloping, almost like it wanted to fire. And guess where the mark is? Exactly where I had it. So it's not timing. So it's not too far advanced or too far retarded, and it's not that rotor button sticking. Because that wouldn't have mattered where the rotor button was sticking, I would have found it somewhere there, and nothing's happening. And it's not flooded because I've got no fuel in me on my plugs. Starter's heating up. I'll give him a rest. Shit's getting real. I've pulled the carby off, made sure the intake wasn't at all restricted with wasps' nests or anything, because the fact the plugs were not drenched in fuel just wasn't making sense. But I actually think it's just that low in sucking force, it's not dragging the fuel through. But I'm going to throw the parts cannon at it. I've got another coil, a new coil. I'm going to chuck it on. Here's the reason. Years ago I had a ski boat and this thing was running pretty good, and then all of a sudden stopped. Just wouldn't fire. Just wound and wound and wound and would not fire, but had spark. And it was only through absolute frustration that I changed the coil on it, thinking maybe that spark's not strong enough, I don't know, and bang, instant. So I'm wondering, we've got spark that we've all seen many times, but I'm going to change the coil on the off chance that we're just not getting good enough quality spark. Is that even a thing? Quality? I don't know, just spark. We'll soon see. For a motor I'm not keeping, I sure am starting to throw parts at it. That's why it's torturing me, because it knows I'm not keeping it. It's just making me work for it. This falls under the category of I've got nothing to lose. Doesn't work, I'm no worse off. But like I say, that boat, it was a HEI Chevy coil. and I wound that till it was blue in the face. Full well had spark, was running a couple of days before, so you knew it wasn't compression. Weak spark. I'm just wondering why I didn't clean that up before. I was going, geez, you think I would have cleaned that before? No, that's the plug lead, that's the inside of the coil. It just pulled out. There you go. I'm going to say it again, we had spark. If that turns out to be it, I'll be happy, but I'll still scratch my head. How do you get spark if that was the problem? I'm just making absolutely certain there's nothing in the intake manifold, but it looks fine. I was expecting a big mud wasp nest or something like that, maybe restricting airflow. I can actually see a valve stem there, so there's nothing restricting it, it's just weak. Just in case they're still sitting just off the seat. If I've got an exhaust just sitting off the valve seat, that could be lowering the compression enough, so I'll try anything. That would have done absolutely nothing, but I'll give it another wind. I bashed that about 10 times. Usually when it's grunting against the ignition like that, it's too advanced, but it can't be. I've checked that timing. I'll retard a bit of timing out of it and give it a wind, because I still have my mark. So what I mean by retarding it or advancing it, think of that as the rotor button. And this is the pin where your number 1 is inside your cap. Well, if you're moving the distributor, you're moving that pin. So when you're advancing it, you're moving it back anti-clockwise. So as the rotor button comes around, it gets to it sooner. So you're advancing the timing. Well, I just turned it away from it, so it's going to retard the timing. This should, theoretically, this should be right on top dead center now, but it'd generally want 6 or 8 degrees advanced to start. But anyway, I'm clearly having a lot of success with that, so there's no harm in trying it. Still got fuel, the squirter's still working. I'm not putting as much fuel down it now. The rings are, I reckon, are as loose as they could be, drowned with fuel. Why is it coughing back through the carby? Do you see the fuel pop out? I wonder if that rotor button inside that distributor, when I'm winding it, is shifting. So maybe I should just ignore everything I know and just... No, but I did that. I turned the distributor and nothing happened. So I'm second guessing myself now. Come on, baby. Come on. Really? Here we go. Come on. Oh, come on. You know you want to. I'll give it a rest for 2 seconds, we're getting close. Cool that starter again. Oh yeah, cool that starter. The coil's hot too, I didn't leave it on, did I? No, it's off. Not hot like yesterday hot, but it's warm. I'll just check we got everything right again. 1 5 3 6 2 4. Come on. If I can just get it to bark off a few times, a bit of warmth in the cylinder. Give that one little kick and then die. Okay, so I went back, I've cleaned those plugs again for about the 300th time, and 2 of them are very black, so they're getting fuel and they're probably very sensitive to the amount of fuel, so I'm just going to go real gentle on how much fuel I'm giving it. And it's going to make no difference whatsoever. I'm running out of ideas here. Short of bashing valves again, trying to gain a little bit more compression, but I'm not hearing any loose rockers. Only the 2 I backed off really. Are we riding valves? Has someone else done the rockers? And we're riding valves. That's probably one thing I didn't think about is, are we riding valves? There's a couple that I redid that I know we're not, but like that one, I retightened that one. I wonder if somebody's redone the valves. I'll go 1/4 turn off all of them. I wonder if somebody's, that's the one I did earlier, adjusted the valves and lashed them down too tight. And that would hold every valve off the seat. That's the one I did earlier. And if it held every valve off the seat, that's made no difference whatsoever. So I'm going to go another 1/4 turn. That's the one I did, like I said, so that one's got clearance. Another 1/4. Another 1/4. 1/4. 1/4. Geez, that's still That still made bugger all difference. I'm going to see if that makes any difference to whether it wants to fire or not, and if it does, I might even back them off more. Are they riding valves? Is that why we've got no compression and whatnot? It's the last thing I would have thought. It's the last thing I would have thought of. Well, clearly. What do you reckon? So they're not depressed, right? I reckon we're riding valves. So if I go quarter turn again, half a turn. So that's half a turn. That one's loose. Half a turn. Half a turn. Don't have to say it every time you do it, just do it. Now, they should be right, so now we've got clearance. I've gone along and cycled it through a few times, and every time I found a valve that felt tight, like that one, just backed it off till there was a tiny bit of clearance. Of course, you're making sure it's not one that's on a cam lobe. Then once you find if they've got a bit of clearance, hydraulic lifters have got preload, which is usually about a half a turn preloaded into the lifters, but I'm sort of taking that out so that I absolutely don't have a lifter that's pumped up and just riding a valve open, because you can see I'm starting to get some smoke poking around here. I'm wondering if that was the case. Are we just holding valves open? Oh, that'll be the next thing. I'll destroy the starter. Does that constitute as running? Sort of. I can't wait to see the footage back of how much you could see or how much you couldn't see because of smoke. Anyway, that's the first sign of life. See how far we can get. So I'm going to fill my fuel tube up again and see if we can't get it to at least run long enough to empty a bowl in my fuel tube. Hopefully that'll keep running down. Excellent. Okay, so I'm gonna should I check those rockers again? That's obviously what the problem was. We're riding valves because now we've got, see I got a little bit of clearance everywhere. ones that aren't on the cam, you can just, they won't come up and down that much, they'll just go side to side. I reckon somebody's gone through here and adjusted them. What generally happens with older motors, or older Holden Red 6s, is after years of wear, they start to wear out cams and lifters, so you'll get a lifter tick, and as they get older, people just try and tighten that lifter tick out of them, and eventually it's probably got parked because it wouldn't run, because it was riding valves. So that one's probably got a fraction too much now, but oh, listen to me being all pedantic, for God's sake. That one still feels tight. I wonder if I can get it to idle so I can at least see how many cylinders we've got. That one's a little bit too loose. And if I go back through them and find a little bit of clearance, like up and down clearance, I just nip him, because they're hydraulic, so that they do want a little tiny bit of preload. But I'd say some of these cam and lifters would be, it's got 50,000 on the odometer, right? But I would say, looking at it, it's been around like 6 times. So there's probably a couple of lifters that are absolutely clapped out, big concaved in the base of them. Anyway, let's not count the chickens just yet. I need to make it idle. Where's the idle? Yeah, because the amount of smoke come out of it, we definitely need it to idle. Good one. Right, let's just give it another crack. As soon as I'm getting off that throttle, it's shutting down, which shame on it for doing that. Half of that smoke is coming out of that rocker cover, or out of where the rocker cover should be covering. So I would say it's got tremendous blow by, as I ignore that and just idle it up some more. That should stop the smoke. And I think I'll either get a hose and try and join them, or just chuck my hose in the water neck. So my idle up screw is just there, and all that is a little screw that runs through and touches on that throttle. Hang on, I'll get around the other side where you can see better. So that little screw there, that's my idle screw there, and it runs through and sits on that little lever there. So the further I screw it in, the more it holds that open. I was just trying to shut it then, that was stupid. But yeah, if I turn that in, it opens that throttle. So I'll see if I can get it to idle a little bit, because we need that. Got any water? I wonder if we just ran out of fuel. So we'll add fuel. My water's going everywhere. I think we're right. Here again. It's terrible, but she's running. I can do better. I've got no fuel. Why? My bottle should be fueling. Oh, I've got no elbow now. Oh, here we go. We'll get fuel back. So it's just taking a minute. Oh, that's magnificent. Now the smoke's cleared. I think I earned this one. Actually, I tell you, the real hero is here, is that little starter motor. It went to places no starter should ever have to go. But it makes no difference. It is coming out. That was always the plan. I just had to sleep at night knowing whether could I get it to run. I know it runs like a horse with two broken legs, but it ran. So I'm going to call that a win. Leftovers will be back, and there's a lot more coming. Anyway, like I said, leftovers is always better the next day, and every day I work on that thing, it's going to get better. Horse that was start again because it's getting late. So I might just put some. So my final thoughts on the video, that was probably a complete waste of time because it was always coming out. But I actually think sometimes when you got nothing to lose on it, that's when you learn the most. Like, I really didn't care if I broke a ring, but we got through that. I really didn't care if I destroyed the whole motor. I just worked away at it, and eventually, and I'm going to put it down to somebody has literally tried to adjust a lifter tick out of that and just kept tightening valves down until they were just riding. Because the minute I started backing those valves off, or backing the rockers off to release the valves, all of a sudden we're starting to get, you know, more and more firing off, and eventually it ran. I don't know how many cylinders it ran on, I don't care. It ran. You can't take that away from me. It ran. But if you do want that engine, it is coming out. It's definitely rebuilder, but even if it's only to pull apart in the shed with your kid to show them how engines work and then throw it in the bin, get on our Facebook or Instagram, contact me through there, you can have it. As soon as it comes out, you can have it. Or if you need any parts for one, a block to rebuild while you're driving your other one, it's free. I just don't want it to go to waste. It's definitely a rebuilder, but I don't like seeing stuff go to waste. Anyway, I'll see you next time, and thanks for watching. And I mean it. I really do appreciate you watching.